The majority of business owners that we've experienced, they want, of course, they want to make money, but they also want to be able to take some vacation. They want some semblance of quality of life where they can, where it doesn't all depend on them. See, too much of the work depends on them. There's no way for them to really step away from the business without feeling worried that the business is gonna, you know, not do very well.
Welcome to Insurance Shoptalk. This is the podcast where the world of commercial insurance gets a little closer to home. I'm your host, Eric Stein, and in every episode, we're taking a deep dive into the insurance industry, from the latest news and trends to in-depth interviews with insurtech experts, carriers, and agency newsmakers. We're covering it all. So sit back, tune in, and let's start the conversation. Steve, welcome aboard, man. Thanks for coming on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Good to see you and be here with everybody.
It's in sunny LA. I wanted to have you on. As you know, congratulations on your new book, Focus on What Matters. I know it's coming out on Amazon soon. And so I know what a pain in the neck it is to write those. So congrats on that, first of all.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, no, it takes a while, and I don't wish it on anybody. It requires a certain type of attention, focused attention that not too many people are used to giving. And I'm not a professional writer by trade, so it took hours upon hours over a course of a little over a year. So
Know the feeling, man. I even had help, and it still felt like it was a arduous task. But
yeah, for sure.
so kind of, I want to set you up a little on the background, and then sort of turn it over to you for kind of fill in. But Steve is Stephen Kim, and he's a founder of Purpose Matters. And I've worked with Steve because he's worked with certain clients that have referred, through my agents and so on, and does a great job for helping his clients. And he's a business growth alignment advisor. Basically, Steve helps business owners that cut through distractions and really focus on what drives sustainable growth, with the goal of like not burning out, and using his new, and this will be covered in his book, his practical 7P business alignment model. That's a mouthful, but I'll let you, go into
Yeah.
some detail on that. But Steve, why don't you talk a little bit about your business, and about, what led you to write the book, Focus on What Matters, too.
Yeah, sure. Well, thank you, Eric. I appreciate being on the call with you today. We were previously mostly focused on the people side in terms of outsource hiring and HR, and we realized we needed to pivot. That industry was slowing down, and so we decided we needed to provide a broader, more strategic offering that included more aspects of a business. So the 7P business alignment model represents various dimensions of a business. For example, prioritization, people, pipeline, product, process, profit. And all of these P's, with purpose being the destination and the reason why you're in the business in the first place, all have to kind of work together, analogous to like oars in a rowboat, where they all have to kind of row in sync to get you to your destination, which is represented by your purpose. So we wanted to create a purpose-focused approach to help business owners achieve more of what matters to them. We found that a lot of owners are overwhelmed. They got too much to do, not enough time in the day to get it done, and they're constantly in this firefighting mode. And it's very hard to create space and time to really reflect on what matters and what's going to drive the business forward and what's really going to move the needle. And so that's really why this came about. Over the last 15 years, we basically developed various frameworks to help owners better focus on what matters and align their business with their purpose. And of course, the question of what matters is complicated. I mean, what matters in terms of what depends on the context. What matters in terms of your health and fitness, family, relationships, what matters in terms of your business, what aspect of your business are we talking about? So really, we've created these frameworks to kind of break these down into more manageable components. They say that, when you have a complicated problem, it's really just a bunch of simple problems combined. So we got to figure out a way to break it down. And the 7 Ps is kind of our way of breaking down these various dimensions that represent your business into more of a manageable approach to solving these problems. So,
Well, it makes sense. Like, so I know, yeah, agency owners get pulled in so many directions,
mhm.
and I mean, this could even go down to the producer level, to be honest, because even producers
Yeah.
can get really scattered in the way they do, they're focusing on getting new business and managing renewals and managing existing clients. What are some of the kind of the alignment mistakes that you see, agency owners or producers makes, and like what can they do to fix it?
Yeah. Well, there's a great quote. I think it's the power of alignment, where the guy says, cars that are out of alignment are hard to steer and they don't respond well to changes in direction. So just like your business, when you feel like maybe you're stuck and things aren't moving the way that you think they should, maybe there's miscommunication, doesn't feel like your team is really singing on the same sheet of music with you. Maybe there's some symptoms that show up in the form of clients and customers that don't renew, or maybe they leave for another agency or another company. Maybe there's higher churn. Something's just not working. Maybe you're losing some of your people. So there's a lot of symptoms that can show up that can indicate some misalignment. And really that misalignment is not having a clear direction, not a clear purpose of where you want the business to go. What's the end in mind? Because if you don't have a clear purpose, you could have a great ladder and the right people helping you climb up that ladder, and you could really be efficient when you climb up that ladder. But when you get to the top of the building, if you don't like the view, all right, and you said, damn, I should be on that other building. I'm on the wrong building. That means there's a misalignment with your purpose and with what you're currently doing.
Yes, like
So
when you're meeting with business owners, then what are some of their goals typically once you sort of narrow it down in the funnel? I mean, some would say probably just having a lifestyle business in the insurance area. But like, what do you see these business owners say other than making it high, as much profit as possible? Give some examples of some goals they
yeah, I
set.
think the majority of business owners that we've experienced, they want, of course, they want to make money, but they also want to be able to take some vacation. They want some semblance of quality of life where they can, where it doesn't all depend on them. See, too much of the work depends on them. There's no way for them to really step away from the business without feeling worried that the business is gonna, you know, not do very well. So they're always under the gun of working in the business when they should spend more time working on the business. How do you develop the right systems and the right delegation and the right team and the infrastructure so that the business can be self-sustaining, where the business works for you rather than you working for the business. And that really comes down to having the right systems, right standard operating procedures in place, and of course, having the right people in place. But all that has to be aligned with the purpose of the business, which is encapsulated by your mission and vision. And the purpose could just simply be, I want a nice business that creates a lifestyle for myself that allows me to take vacation and also creates a positive work environment for my employees. It doesn't have to be some lofty, grandiose purpose. It's something that's meaningful for the owner.
Yeah, it makes sense. And even a producer could, they own their book of business, so I guess the same would apply to them, because
Yeah, absolutely. This
they
this
have a team
applies
to
to
manage too.
producers, brokers, because each producer is kind of like their own little business. Is their business aligned with their purpose in terms of what's most important to them? A lot of what we do, we like to say that we're in the business of creating meaningful results. And what are those meaningful results for producers, for brokers, for business owners? And only they can really answer that question. But the problem is they don't take the time to really think about that question thoughtfully. They're just too consumed in the business, putting out fires, and it's constantly running from one task and one urgent issue or problem to the next. And so a big part of how we can really help owners is creating that time and space to be more reflective about where are they going? Why do they want to get there? What are they hoping to achieve, big picture wise?
That makes sense. And
Yeah.
then coming from your background, your business, with recruiting, I mean, do you have any, and I know that, finding the producers and CSRs and teams to help in an agency is tough, right now, and how it's always,
Yeah.
ever changing. Like, you have any strategies that you would recommend on attracting and keeping the right, fit employees in the insurance space?
Yeah, sure. No, great question. So once you're clearer about your purpose and the type of company and agency that you want to build, that'll inform the right fit producer, agent that you want to attract to your company. So for example, if you're a Nordstrom, you're going to attract and you're going to look for a different type of employee personality and persona than if you were 99-cent store or Dollar Tree or Walmart. Now, I'm not saying that any one of them are any better than the other. They're very different service models, but once you're clear about the type of company and the culture that you want to create, then you'll be able to line up the right fit employee based on that culture and based on the purpose. And a lot of it is just defining what is the right fit employee. And so we have a framework of going through that question and helping you articulate and really define what that right fit looks like.
Yeah, I mean, I've even heard just some other business owners in passing, like they'll make comments like, hey, if the employees I'm hiring are not going to do it the way I want, I'll just do it myself. So
Mhm.
they're already kind of, giving up on the, I guess getting the right process and people in
Yeah.
place because it is so challenging because like you said, they're managing their business, day to day, and in the weeds. But like, and then they get frustrated. I know I was like that before, I get frustrated, just do it myself.
Yeah.
Any other ideas to get around that philosophy to, you know, to help people?
Yeah. Well, we have a framework called the focus alignment framework, uh, which helps you identify what are the highest impact activities that only you can do. Right. And so we have basically it's kind of in an Excel spreadsheet format where we list all the tasks and duties that you're responsible for. And then we determine based on your function for the company, for the agency, what are your highest and best uses of your time? Based on your strengths, how can we maximize and make most productive your strengths? What are the things that only you can do that really moves the needle forward? And what are some things that you can delegate to somebody else that can do it, 80 to 85% as good as you can? If they can do it 80 to 85% as good as you, then it's probably a good idea to delegate it. So we're trying to continuously move up the food chain in terms of your highest and best use activities. And the owners and the producers and agency, they know what they are, but it's just a question of making sure that they're held accountable for focusing on those things rather than slipping back into routines and habits of lower activities that could be delegated to somebody else.
Yeah, it makes
We
sense.
actually have a time tracking app that we recommend called Toggle, because one of the key things is once you've identified what are the high value tasks, well, you can only improve what you measure. So we have a time tracking app called Toggle that we recommend, and we'll basically populate the app with all the key activities and make it really simple for the client to just use a drop down menu and then just record their time throughout the day and throughout the week. And so we'll show our clients how to do this and guide them through that process so that they'll have a better idea of where their time is going.
Gotcha. And then,
Yeah.
as far as like kind of turning it around from internal management employees and then trying to manage their clients in terms of what their ideal client is, making sure they're set up to service and you know, attract that client versus just chasing any client, more of a profiling of an ideal client.
Yeah.
How does your system help with that?
Yeah. Well, I think the first question is we have to determine, what problem or pain are we trying to solve for our customer? big picture. What is the benefit? What is the problem or pain that we're trying to solve for the customer? So, Theodore Levitt, he has this famous saying that nobody wants to buy a 1/4-inch drill bit. They want to make a hole. That's not why they're buying the drill bit. It's because they want to make a 1/4-inch hole. So what is the problem or pain that we're trying to solve, with our particular product or service offerings? And then figuring out, who is the right fit customer based on our core competencies and our core values. So what are we good at? What do we enjoy doing? Because you could go after a particular customer segment, but if you don't have the core competency to address that market, it's probably not going to be the right fit for you.
Hey everybody, it's Eric. I just want to pop in for a quick announcement. Exciting news. I just launched my new book on Amazon. It's called The Blueprint: An Insurance Agency's Unconventional Rise to the Top. And it goes through a little bit about how I built the agency Insurance Solutions since 2009 to today. And the blueprint in terms of how I actually did it with the tech stack, the offshore, nearshore talent, and digital marketing techniques that I use. So pick up a copy today on Amazon. Thanks, guys. Yeah, that's why so many agents now are, finding niches. Then there's all their service teams and their carriers, and the producers, everyone's sort of aligned with the more knowledge, easily, it's easier to deal and service that kind of niche because you've got some expertise in it. You're not, the generalist is not doing as well as the folks that are niching usually.
Yeah, exactly. You can't be everything to everybody. And if you can figure out what your niche is, and as long as that niche is broad enough to be profitable and sustainable for you. And so we go through a segmentation exercise where we try to figure out what is the proper segment in terms of the right fit customer profile. So for example, if you're a clothing manufacturer and say, hey, Eric, I want to sell clothing to women. Who's your customer? Well, it's just women from 25 to 40 years of age. Well, that's too broad of a market. What do you mean women from 25 to 40? You got to break that down. Well, maybe 25 to 40 mothers that have kids that are involved with sports, that drive minivans, that are health conscious. Okay, now we have a segment that maybe is more approachable that we can wrap our mind around. So just figuring out what that segment is, and if you can do it in a way that's different and better than your competitors, you can tailor your messaging based on that segment. So if you can identify a segment that you can reach, you can tailor a message for that segment, and it's going to be a lot more relevant, and your message will be a lot more impactful. So we go through a process of helping you determine what that segment could look like.
Right. I mean, a lot of agencies, though, kind of like, okay, our minimum premium's this. We want to go after this niche, brewery or, Amazon delivery, parcel delivery drivers. And these states, we got these markets that can address it. We have the good relationships and commission plans with and contingency bonuses. And now how do you go out and, get that business now or identify the business and then go after it.
Yeah. And another way to help develop a better segmentation is to interview some of your current customers, your best customers. Say, hey, what is it that we do that's better and different than your next best alternative? Well, you guys give me good service. I like the relationships I have. You guys are on top of things. I can call you and I don't get routed to some voicemail or some chat bot. You got to figure out, well, what is it that makes us better and different than your next best alternative? And if they can give you some compelling reasons, then that informs you as far as what your edge is. Because if it's just price, as you can't compete on price. Well, you guys are the cheapest, so I went with you. Well, that's not a competitive, sustainable advantage. And then you figure out how you can rank order those preferences. And so we do this as part of our customer segmentation interviewing. Is we'll actually interview, a dozen or so customers. And sometimes they'll talk with us a little bit more freely than they will the the client. And it's kind of like going to a restaurant. You say, and the server asks, "How was everything?" Your default answer is like, "Oh, everything's fine." But in the back of your head, you're thinking, "Well, the chicken was a little dry this time. It was moist, more moist last time, and yeah, that sauce was a little light." But they're not going to get into all that stuff, you know. Um, so we'll actually do some customer interviews. Hey, has everything met expectations? What's been better and different about your experience versus other experiences you've had? And we try to surface some key differentiators, and then we can craft a message around those key differentiators.
That makes
And then
sense.
you
Yeah.
attract the type of producers that can line up with those key differentiators. Yeah.
That's great too that you that's a good idea about being a third party doing those interviews of the client versus the agency because they're not going to open up to agency staff because you might get somebody in trouble or something, so
Right,
it's good to have a third
exactly.
party.
And another thing that we asked them is, how would you weight those different preferences? Is one 50%, the other one's 20%, is one 30, or are they all kind of equal? And you might be surprised about what you get across the various customers that you interview. And if you see a pattern, say no, 50% is this, then you know that that's weighted a little bit more heavily than the others, and it helps you prioritize in your messaging what you want to emphasize. Yeah.
Got it. And then like I know, like some of the technology is really reshaping things with some of the AI tools, the new CRMs that are out there and new marketing for agents, the pricing's coming down for that. You got any suggestions on, the best practice of evaluating and kind of implementing some of these new tools right now
Mhm.
so you don't get,
Yeah.
overwhelmed by it?
Yeah. Well, I'll say first off, the mindset shift to embracing AI as a technology that's transforming the way we work, the way we interact. There's a saying that AI won't necessarily replace your job, but someone using AI will. So, so you've got to embrace it and utilize it. Even with tasks like crafting job postings. I mean, we have AI craft job postings, and they're every bit as good as what we could have done. You know, and so you want to make sure that your service is not commoditized. If all they have to do is ask ChatGPT and your job is replaced, then you're not in a very strong position. So you got to figure out a way to add more value than just giving answers. You have to help the client ask better questions, different questions than they're asking of themselves, because the answers that you get using AI and ChatGPT is a function of the quality of the questions that you ask. So you got to try to stay at least step ahead, a quarter step ahead of AI in terms of what they can deliver. And I was joking with a buddy of mine and said, you know what? As long as AI robot can enjoy a nice cup of coffee with me and can enjoy a nice meal, like Eric, you and I, we can go have lunch. We can enjoy a nice lunch together. As long as that's important, that we can bond over that meal and have a nice beverage and a cup of coffee. We're still ahead of AI right now because an AI robot can't do that yet. And if that relationship, matters, I think we still have a lot we can offer as consultants and agents and producers.
True. Yeah, you gotta have that relationship part.
Yeah.
And then what about as far as evaluating these new tools now, what do you recommend when you're consulting, with owners and clients about literally, the process of identifying what the issues are you're trying to streamline, and then what products to go and, figure out, and then will your staff comply with using the new products?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we use ChatGPT. I know Grok is also coming on pretty strong, so it's a great idea generator. You got to filter it through your own experiences and through your own eyes. But I found it to be an excellent idea generator. And instead of just Googling for answers, now it's able to kind of synthesize and bring the whole World Wide Web, everything that's been publish and put out there, and it does it so quickly that the speed is quite astonishing how fast it can pull things together for you. It's like a super duper thesaurus, but now it's a lot more complex because now it's not just giving you um, different words for the same meaning, but ideas and sentences and paragraphs. So I don't know if that answers your question, but for us, we use AI mostly as a content editing tool. Um, in terms of crafting our message, I know that people are using AI to craft their email messaging, some of their direct mail messaging, and yeah, I think that if you rely on it 100%, it's going to sound a little off. I think where it just doesn't sound um, down to earth and human. But I think that's where you have to tweak it and have some human eyes to edit what you get from AI.
Yeah, I've definitely done the same, used it for like the email marketing to our agents at Insurance Solutions to let them know about new markets. And then I have to edit that to, like you said, simplify it and put, your own voice on it,
Yeah,
well. And, I've been using it too, just for simple tasks like what is a workers' compensation rate for XYZ class in Virginia or California, where when I had to do that with Google or NCCI, it just took a long time, to find what I needed. And really give you some kind of basic rate information too, just for your filed rate sometimes. So it's really, yeah, speeding things up. But
wow, that's amazing, and it's pretty accurate. Yeah, the rates that you get from ChatGPT or AI is pretty accurate.
yeah, it's close, close enough. I just want a ballpark and
Yeah,
maybe just one of the right, make sure I've got the right class code that I'm sending in and, it'll kind of tell you the differences. So it's just fast, faster than even looking at ncci.com, having to
yeah.
filter through that because there might be multiple class codes for things as well. And then, one other thing is like, what about, as far as profitability is concerned, how do you get to that level? How do you, educate business owners and agency owners to increase profitability without really, overworking their current staff, knowing kind of when to hire, but still maintain that profit level?
Yeah. Well, we actually have a section on profit, and one of the things that we talk about is the theory of the business, which is really encapsulated by the idea of a business model. What is the revenue cost structure of your business? And an agency business model is very different than a manufacturing or a professional service or a managed service provider or um, an accounting firm. So we have to look at what is the industry standard in terms of the cost of goods, overhead, net profit. I mean, what's sort of the norm? And then how does your P&L stack up against that benchmark? Right. So you can kind of compare against your peer group as far as, hey, I'm paying X percentage of my revenues on rent. Is that reasonable? I'm paying X percentage on overhead. I have X percentage in profit. Is that above, below, equal to the baseline? So that's one way to at least give you a starting point. And then as far as increasing profitability, that's always a very tricky question to answer because it doesn't mean that if you have 6% profit, it doesn't necessarily mean that's worse than 8% profit. Because at 6% profit, because you've priced yourself a little bit more competitively, you might do, a third more of the volume versus 8%, you might do a lot less. So at the end of the day, the money that ends up in your bank account at 6% might be a lot more than the profit percentage at 8%. So it's not like a one size fits all type of thing, but the one of the principles that we teach our clients is the fact that profit, there has to be enough of it so that it creates a sustainable enterprise long term, which means that there has to be enough of it so that part of it can be reinvested back into the company to grow the company. And also, you have to have enough of it to pay the owner his return on his equity, the money that he invested into the business in the first place, all the sweat equity and the money that he put in, he's got to have a reasonable return on that. And then as it relates to profit, one approach that we found is extremely powerful. Very few businesses actually put it into effect because it's not easy to do. Is the idea of profit sharing, where you have a certain percentage of the profit, let's say 20%. So if you make 10% profit, this is just an example. One scenario is you take 20% of the profit, which is 2%, you put in a profit sharing pool where you share it with the people who help you create that profit. And of course, you have to have it, maybe some conditions. They have to at least have been with you for a year, and it could be on a pro rata share based on their salary or compensation compared to the total compensation of your agency, and you can divide it up that way. You can also divide it based on a point scale where people who contribute to the leadership, to the growth, they might get a little bit more of a weighted share in that profit. But the idea that if you create a profit sharing incentive program, now each of your employees will treat the business as if it's their own. They're looking at the overall good of the company. So they're focused on not only the revenue but also the expense side of the business. Like, hey man, we can't spend that money on that. That's gonna increase the overhead. That's gonna reduce our profit sharing. So they start to think like an owner. So in terms of increasing profitability, I think having a profit sharing team oriented approach is ultimately in the long run the sustainable way to go. And then, of course,
Great.
making sure that you're operating within the norms of your business model. We had one client, landscape design firm, and his gross profit was so low, he wasn't able to make hardly any money, and it just wasn't sustainable. And so for him, he has to bid his jobs properly because no matter what, they can't cut more on labor and material. It's a pricing issue. They need to go after jobs that are more aligned with what they can charge, that's sustainable for the business to actually survive.
Yeah, that's a great idea too on the profit sharing idea and of course the first step, which is figuring out what the benchmark should be, and then where do you stand against that benchmark? Because I think a lot of margin, I think in the industry is net margin like 25%, of your revenue. And so that's sort of an industry average in the retail agency space. So now, how do you stack against that? And then what do you need to do to adjust to hit that number or exceed it,
Yeah. And also that they all have to kind of work together. If you don't mind, maybe I'll do a little quick screen share.
Yeah, so we'll basically put this on the screen. And for those of you that are listening on one of the podcast networks, this will also be on YouTube as well, so you can actually view the video of the slide that Steve's going to be referring to at a later time. And it's on the Insurance Shop Talk website, or just type in YouTube Insurance Shop Talk.
Yeah. So can you see my screen okay?
Yes.
All right, great. So some of the common frustrations and triggers that we've experienced or encountered are owner wants to grow or exit but feels stuck. Maybe the leadership team isn't aligned. Everyone's pulling in a different direction. Maybe too much depends on the owner. I'm still carrying too much load. That's one thing that we hear a lot. Right fit employees and customers are getting harder to keep and find. Business is growing, but profitability and fulfillment are shrinking. Maybe they feel like they're stuck in the weeds with little time for strategy growth, working on the business. Processes are inconsistent and don't scale. Maybe team misalignment is causing turnover, lost customers, stall growth, no clear roadmap to scale. Leadership team are not rowing in the same direction, lack of clear priorities, too much going on, not enough focused progress on what really matters. So these are just some issues that we run into. And so our solution for managing and handling that is we have this idea of the boat. where each of the P's represent oars in a boat that have to all kind of row together. You know, the purpose, which is the destination and the reason why you're rowing in the first place, prioritization, people, product, pipeline, process, profit, and like oars of a rowboat working in harmony to move forward, you know, helping businesses row in sync to avoid burnout and inefficiency. And the 7P business alignment model is based on these 6 Ps with the purpose at the center of it. And some of the benefits, you know, if you have better prioritization, you can have greater clarity on what matters, profit, keep more of what you make, people, improve productivity, retention, pipeline, more profitable customers, product, increased revenue, process, lower costs, and higher efficiency. And we want to make sure that, of course, you know, whatever investment they make into improving these things, they get at least a minimum of a 2-to-1 type of return. All right. And here's a copy of the book, Focus on What Matters, Aligning Your Business with Your Purpose. Essentially for entrepreneurs, empowering entrepreneurs to operationalize their purpose to achieve meaningful growth and greater fulfillment. So in today's day and age where there's increasing amount of distractions, you know, there's got to be a way to kind of cut through that noise and better focus on what matters. And so hopefully we can do that, help business owners prioritize what matters and make sure that they have the people that matter, that line up with their purpose, make sure that they have the right fit customers, the customers that matter, the type of revenues that matter most, make sure that their processes are streamlined and documented, and of course, make sure that they have enough profit that matters to sustain themselves and to grow a business that gives them a sense of fulfillment.
Well, makes sense, man.
Yeah.
For those, while we're on the subject, for those that want to get a copy of your book, when do you guesstimate it's going to be available? For it's what I call Focus on What Matters.
Yeah, this spring, probably sometime in the next month. Yeah, in the spring, and they can go to my website 7P purposematters7.com, purposematters7.com. And if they take our alignment scorecard, you know, we'll send them a free copy of a digital version of the book.
Oh, cool. So you got like a basically a scoring mechanism on the website.
Yeah, it just gives them a quick alignment check as to how they're doing across the various 7 Ps.
Got it. And then if anybody wants to speak to you directly, maybe about, you know, possibly working together with you to get some extra help, or just has other questions, what's the best way to connect with you?
Yeah, probably the best way is just to email me at steve@purposematters7.com, and then we can set up a quick call.
Sounds great. P&C agents, have you run into Byberg, which is a Berkshire Hathaway company quoting workers' comp for either your prospects or clients? Well, great news. Insurance Solutions, a national MGA, has an appointment that is set up to allow you to quote, bind, and service Byberg at your agency. And the coverage is in all states. It's A-rated. Startups are even accepted. There's $125,000 maximum premium. And some of the tough industries they write are construction, transportation, that includes towing and parcel delivery, manufacturing, security guards that are armed and unarmed, motor mediation, and many more. So go to our website at insurancesolutions.net, click the Get Appointed link. We'll get you logins for you and your team, and can set up a webinar for training if you'd like. Also, feel free to email info@insurancesolutions.net, and I can handle the submission myself, or call 770-402-5343. Be glad to speak to you and give you more detail. Thanks. Well, Steve, again, congratulations. Again, I know what my task it is to, create that book, and the new direction that you're going in. Sounds exciting, and I appreciate you kind of sharing it with the team, with everybody on the call, on the podcast.
Yeah, thank you, Eric, for having me on. I really appreciate it. I love the good work that you're doing, helping producers and agents grow their business through Insurance Shop Talk, and we'd love to be part of that journey. I mean, ultimately, we want to help contribute to people's growth in a meaningful way that gives them greater fulfillment and greater profitability and growth that in a way that matters for them and their family. So,
Perfect, man. Well, congrats again. Thanks for being on. I appreciate
all
it.
right, you got it. Take care.
Thanks again for tuning in to Insurance Shop Talk. If you enjoyed our deep dive into the latest trends, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Until next time, I'm Eric Stein, and this has been Insurance Shop Talk.